Okay.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Finance and Administration Committee for November 12th, 2025. Are there any, we can call this meeting to order. Are there any declaration of pecuniary interests?
No.
Yep. We can circulate the prior meeting minutes. Were there any questions?
No. Because I think
we
they're already approved, right? They would have been done at the end of October. Yeah, at our last council meeting, sorry. I stopped them.
We can move on to the Joint Health and Safety Committee inspection sheets. Were there any questions about those?
It's the MSD sheets, and that's a common every time one. There's some kind of time lag in the MSDS sheets, so it always shows up there.
We can move on to new business then. The September 2025 bank reconciliation.
You want my paper copy if you want it,
Baby's working in there.
just to see the total.
Yeah.
Okay, there's 2 sheets there.
Thank you. So if there are no questions, we can move that. All over the place. Okay, we can receive and file.
Thank you.
You. And then the September 2025 reconciliation for water. Were there any questions about those?
No.
Okay. File. Upcoming village events.
No, sorry. Saturday is Spirit Day at the arena, which means every Pima team from the beginning all the way through plays a home game. So there's home games through the whole day. They've got activities, you know, the mascot, they're doing a bracelet station for the little girls, you know, the sisters and others there. I think we usually like pizza and stuff for kids. Anyways, it's extra work for the staff. They'll be busy, but it's a fun day. And then, yeah, on December the 5th is Light Up the Cul-de-sacs. And it starts at 6:30 at the pergola. And the different streets will be decorating like we had all committed to wait till after November 11th, Remembrance Day. So they'll probably start putting up decorations soon. Especially like, it seems like decorations are going up all over the place early, but seems early to me. And then December the 6th is Christmas in the Village. And just as to remember that Santa Claus is going to be at the community hall, which is great because, you know, it was cold when he was in the pergola. And then the last couple of years he's been in the ice creamery and you had to come in the back door and squeeze through that, that narrow store. So the community hall is a great place for him. And
Last year was great.
yeah, that was, they moved him last year for the first time, right? So that was, I think it starts at 11. Until 3. And that night is the Christmas parade. But I haven't received anything about it yet, but it's always December, like that night is the sign of Christmas parade.
Thank you.
Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. All the ones I'm aware of anyway.
Then we can move on to number 4, Canadian Community Building Fund Compliance Audit. Chip, did you want to mention?
Yeah, we can, Jane knows more about this than I do. She kind of, well, she did it. She worked with into,
This kind of page was selected to do the with no concerns, they do the randomly kind of
Yeah.
selection.
That makes sense.
So, and we received notification in June, and this one then they appoint BDO as the auditor. And go through some questionnaires and some questions, so with no concerns, and it's done by September, and I asked them, could we release the final results? They don't suggest, but they say council, if you need, I can provide to you. So it's all good. This is the aim of
Yeah,
yeah.
okay,
So no concerns.
good, thank you.
Thank you.
It's always fun to get audited.
We can move on to number 5, requirement for tender for external audits. Jane?
Well, this is, we have been used the same auditor for a decade.
a long
A
time.
very long time. By the legislation, every 5 years, we needed to go in kind of a tender and then requested, have the your RFP for this audit in terms of accountability and transparency. So I think it's time to kind of follow up the legislation. So I don't know, Jim, maybe we can have additional information about the process of our RFP and maybe, or so we just cannot work with the county or.
I think so. I think we'll have to reach out to other municipalities that have gone through the process recently and get, a sample tender document and
Have a sample, so it's up to mayor and council. If we see we can provide that one, Jim and I we can have a review that one and then give a draft one, so we'll go and then send out a potential tender. So hopefully, but for 2025 audit, it's still the same auditor for the MNP, but for 2026 year end audit could be changed, depends on the final result.
Perfect. Do we have a timeline on when we'd like to have that completed?
I prefer this one get done before May and then give a heads up of the current auditor and then and then the new one. So, for the new auditor, they kind of might need to provide some documentation from the current auditor and then maybe some the other documentation people from us as well. So at the end of May, so I think we have sufficient time to get this process. So it will be good.
Can that be added to our list of
sure.
carry forward?
Yep.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what some of the other communities are using. I know that we've been using the same because we had a
Yeah.
good relationship and,
Yeah.
didn't feel the need to change, but I know that, realistically, you have to go
Yes.
test waters. For competitiveness.
Yeah. Any other questions?
No,
Move on. Perfect, thank you, Jean. Okay, we can move on to number 6, update on external fund transfer program, Canada Coast Strike impact mitigation and e-deposit implementation.
For this one was submitted to the last council meeting and once done and Jim and I had a discussion. The thing this should be kind of submitted to our committee meeting first, if it's necessary, goes to the next, council meeting. So this is just keep mayor and council chair is updated about the current our accounting receivable payable process. Currently we use EFT. This kind of help a lot from efficiency and effectiveness perspective. And also for accounts receivable, before we always have go to the bank, whatever the weather or that's certain amount and a certain time we have to go to the bank. Right now we have the scanner, the check received, we just scan right away and deposit. So that's kind of increase our efficiency. So just keep also update the current improvements we make. And also kind of eliminate some this interruption like you know, postal service, delivery, you know, delayed.
It's only 50% of the vendors. Do you expect that to increase? I'm kind of surprised it's slow.
We do kind of, we did say in the follow-up, send an email and a letter to the current vendor, and then we decided, you know, moving forward, each time we can every 2 weeks, we run the check run, we'll attach EFT form of the
Okay.
letter and
Okay.
promote this program.
Yeah, okay. I was just curious. It just seemed like a low number.
It's a 50, but it's kind of a little slow after.
But it's a good start, but I
It's-
would like to see it better than that.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. We can move on to number 7, the village fee bylaw review.
So this, as the memo said, there's direction provided. That these fees be reviewed annually. We've been doing that for a few years now. In the past, we've just come with a report kind of with the current fees in place and then any recommended changes. We were asked this year to kind of apply, you know, what would increases look like. And what I decided to do is increase them by the same rate that our collective agreement calls for. And then just round them off. We'd like to keep them at flat dollars. We don't want them to be, you know, $21.37. We want them to be nice flat numbers. So what I did is calculated out 3.25% and then rounded the number to whichever way it goes. There were a few cases where we did other things, but in green is the new rates with that 3.25% added. One of the ones that was more than that, the arrears notice, that's a new fee that we put in place last year at $5. We're suggesting to increase that to 10, just to cover the costs of preparing those arrears notices. Jane spends a fair bit of time going through them and like highlighting the information for people. So it's, and then the envelope and the postage and like just, and we don't feel that $10 or that $5 is covering the cost of that. So we're recommending we increase that one to 10. Some of them we just left as well, like the 3.25%. We didn't add anything to some of them. And then this was not circulated. This is a new form actually that, or it's a new version of the form that was circulated to committee. There's a number of fees that that Jane recommended we at least look at putting in place. So transfers from one account to another, that is, people will go online and they'll make a payment and they'll pay it towards Point Edward water instead of Point Edward taxes. So then we have to go in and do journal entries to move that money over to the proper account. So we're recommending fee for that. Issuing a refund for overpayment made in error. So that one's fairly self-explanatory. Somebody makes a payment, and quite often we'll just say to people, you know, leave the money there and it'll be used towards your next tax installment. But some people want the money back right away. So we're recommending a fee for that. Interest on outstanding accounts receivable, which is different than taxes. The idea there is billings that the village puts out to people that if they're not paying them by, you know, within the 30 days, that we have a tax rate or a interest rate of 2% on those. There's not a lot of them, correct?
We don't have many accounts receivable, except the property tax is separate, it's a 15% there. This is just for accounting. The main thing is ice rental, and what we find is really kind of paid behind. So this is kind of help to collect the cash, because cash flow is critical, especially right now we have 2 major capital projects. Normally it's a 15%, but as a reference, the other, you know, kind of neighboring municipality, they increased this one to 24 last year, and approved by their kind of a council. So every month, this is the 2% increase. So this is just help to cover the cost and then kind of speed up collections.
Why 24%?
No, it's a 15%. This is gonna be an increase and then to be kind of, just compared to the other municipalities. I mean, what we do just kind of try to, reduce the outstanding receivables and then increase our cash inflow.
So you're making it significant enough that it's like way better to pay in time than to let it run late. Like,
Exactly.
Does this get out the ones that, when we talk about, like, it's 2 years to pay your taxes before it can go into
Yeah.
the other process?
This has nothing to
Has
do with
nothing to do with
taxes.
taxes,
Just,
okay.
Yeah.
Just kind of use our, property or the service with, it's not service.
A driveway cut,
Arena Rentals is probably the
Okay,
best
okay.
example.
okay,
The other component, because every month we have the same thing as a tax where we have to run a statement and check their invoice and then mail them out as well. So that's basically cover is, we don't make any benefits from this charge. It's covered by the costs. That's the important.
Thank you.
Okay. Then the next tax account statements older than 2000, between 2003 and 2024. So people come in, we don't get a lot of requests for statements that old, but it does happen. And it's a little bit more difficult to, like, if you want a statement for the current year, it's a couple clicks of a button, it's done. It's a little bit more complicated. I mean, it's not crazy, but it's a little bit more complicated to get an older one. So we're recommending that we put a fee in for $6 for older than 2025. We do it, and then we're recommending free for this year, like for the current year and 1 year back. Just like there's a lot of people that call and they want that information. They've lost their tax bill and they need it to file their income tax. There's some advantage to having property taxes. So there's a number of people every year that call and ask for that. So we're recommending that we leave that one alone. Reprinting a tax bill. So we get people that come in and they need an actual copy of the tax bill. A tax statement is not good enough. Again, the tax statement, 2 clicks of a button and it's done. Reprinting a tax bill is a lot more. I mean, I wouldn't even want to look at how to do it. I don't know how.
the one
But
with the
it's-
rip-off piece?
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
original. They go,
It's-
I lost my original, with the rip-off on the bottom. Hear that one a lot at the front desk. Well, I
So
didn't
it's-
remember getting it. Well, you got it, but you
It's
missed those little pull-off
It's-
pieces.
a lot more time consuming to reprint that bill. So we're recommending a fee of $15 for that. I don't know that we get a lot of those, but again, it's,
Yeah.
We'd want,
It's good and interesting. They're not, say, oh, I lost one. Can you print in that template and then have a scan and then attach the email?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why, and then mostly they are from commercial. So this charge is really minimum level.
so then tax rolling fee, that's for somebody. So Blue Water Power collects our water bills, but there are cases, every year we get a report back from Blue Water Power that certain people haven't paid their water bill. And the process is then we take that water bill and put it on their taxes and it's collectible the same as municipal taxes. It's a fee to like, there's a fair bit of work. Blue Water Power has to do work to send it to us, then we have to process it. It's a fair, yeah, it's to do cost recovery of it, and it's a fair process to do that work. So that's a fee, and it could be other things too. It could be, if we send out, there's a number of bylaws. For instance, property standards. We could send someone a bill under property standards. If they don't pay it, we have the right to put it on their taxes. So we would implement this fee in that case as well, where they didn't pay their bill. Like there's a number of accounts receivable that we have the right to put on their taxes if they don't pay it prior to that. So this is a fee to for that extra admin work that's created. creating a new tax roll. That there's not a lot of that either. It's like we get these severances come in, and there's just work that has to be done in the tax system and the accounting system to create that new property in the system. So there's a recommended fee for that. And then Jane felt we should add in our transit. We just, whatever the city charges us, we charge. And, you know, it's kind of understood, but she just felt we should put a line in there that says we're going to charge what the city charges us.
Okay. So for all of the fees that are for recovery, are we confident that they're actually high enough to recover what is being spent to perform those services?
Well, that's, it's minimum, it's basically that's kind of, it's not, it's hard to determine, you know, how much you know, the time and then paperwork and it's hard to do calculate, but this is just minimum cost of recovery.
Water bills would be, because they don't go after it immediately. If you're a landlord, you get copied that the water is owing, not power, just water. And they let that go for a few months before they take action. So they're probably getting up to hundreds of dollars on the water bills.
Water bills, this is they do kind of every month, every year. The water sent as a list.
Okay.
That's kind of the water arrears.
Okay,
They try their kind of they attempted to do their collection, but it's they find it's just not possible to collect it. They will kind of send back to the local community, the same as the same. So we have to run a check and pay to them. Then we have to each one we have to kind of add the bill on their tax. So and then we take a send a bill to them and tell them this is a tax letter, explain to them this is the water arrears.
so we pay Blue Water Power.
Oh, we do.
Yeah, so they never go without.
No, they don't have let off on their end.
Yeah,
Yeah, so the agreement with Blue Water Power, they pay us by a certain date, everything that was metered.
Yeah.
And then if they are unable to collect, they bill us back for what they're unable to collect. And then final collection is we put it on your property taxes, and if you don't pay it, guess what?
Yeah, I think my only concern was that, just with some of them, that we may not be recovering what we're actually putting into some of these things. But like you said, it's quite difficult to quantify.
Yeah.
It would be great to, maybe look at like over the next year before the next time we review these, seeing if, if you notice that some things are taking you quite a lot of time and we're charging a minimal amount, maybe increasing those specific ones
Thank you.
more
Yeah.
next time.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, this is annual basis, so this will be next year, we'll see if we'll find some, any justification is necessary or make at that time. Thank you.
So the next tab is building fees. That's something that'll have to be led by the county. And there's legislation, like we're not allowed to make money on building fees. They're only allowed to cover costs. So I think it's time that we should review those again. I will reach out to the building department for that. Fire services is one where I just did 3% or 3.25% and rounded. So that's where I came up with the numbers in green. Planning and development, same thing. Recreation, so we had a discussion at
Marina.
the operations committee meeting this morning. It's been our practice to raise rates every 2 years. So it's about an 8% on prime time and about 11% on non-prime, which the mayor expressed some concern about those being fairly substantial increases. But when it's split over 2 years, it's not as bad. It's 4% per year and 5.5% per year. So the recommendation that came out of the committee this morning was to implement the rates as suggested there, the 240, 100 and 100 for floor time hourly rentals, which it's always like our policy has always been whatever the non-prime rental rate is, that's what we charge for like summer floor time. So those changes were recommended at the committee meeting this morning. And then water and wastewater, I haven't done anything with those. We have our budget meeting on the 25th. And then my thought is whatever happens to the rates on the 25th, we will put the appropriate changes into the bylaw to bring to council on the 2nd of December. So really what I'm looking for today is discussion around the recommended changes that are all in here in green, and then the half a dozen or so new charges that are recommended. If there's any that you disagree with or that you'd like to see changed a bit, you know, some of them end up being different weird numbers like $31 and $36. But that's not bad. I mean,
Not bad.
giving out loonies and toonies for change isn't
Yeah.
a big deal. So when you get into quarters and dimes and nickels that we want to avoid.
Aside from what I already mentioned, I don't have any other concerns.
So the 24%, do you want us to incorporate that into the bylaw, or?
If that is standard, what neighboring municipalities are doing, and that's what they can put, then
Okay.
that's. I don't think that that's a problem.
And, you know, we can also do like, you know, if arena users are one of the ones that we're concerned about, we can send a letter before we implement this. We can send a letter to them saying, you know, starting January 1, we're going to implement this 2% interest per month for overdue, like for unpaid balances, so that we can give them the information ahead of time, so that it's not, you know, that it doesn't just show up. I mean, we have the right to do it, but we
Well,
also
we-
like to communicate.
Derek was gonna communicate with his users anyway, to talk about the pending increases. So all it is adding more
Yeah.
information into that.
And there'll
communication.
be, like, there'll be a notice going out to unpaid bills at the start
Oh.
of December. So it would not be difficult at all to put a notice in with those bills saying, starting January 1, we're gonna start charging a 2%.
Well, contact, for a prepared on one. He put this one included the separate
Okay.
contact already, and the mention, within 30 days, if you don't pay the charges, give very small time
Mhm.
to make a payment. Yeah. So, and of course, I think with good idea, so when we run November, as rental invoice, we'll attach a notification and then tell them, from the late fee will be applied effective January 1st, 2026.
Okay.
And we will, as you suggested, we'll pay attention to actual how much time is spent preparing a tax rolling situation. And if it's 20 minutes of Jane's time, then it's not difficult to figure out what that should look like.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Move on to number 8, 2026 budget discussion.
So there's, for this committee, we circulated both water and village spreadsheets. The village capital is missing a sheet for some reason. When we transferred it, it's a 2-page document and only 1 page went through. So I'll update it on the website with the 2-page document, and then I will also email it out to counselors, just so they have the proper thing to do. The capital is showing about a $450,000 deficit. With all the projects that are proposed and the funding available, we need to cut about $450,000 in capital spending. We will get together as a management group and get that number whittled down quite substantially prior to the budget meeting on the 25th. The operating budget is showing about a 12% increase.
As 1.37%.
Okay. So again, we will go through that and try and make some, we won't just try, we will go through it and make some changes to bring that down to a more manageable number as well. So if you have any questions about any of the capital or operating expenses, there's a number of expenses that have historically been on the capital side that we're moving over to the operating. Couple of things at the fire hall, personal protective equipment and hose replacement. All our events have always been capital, but they're really operating things. So Christmas in the Village and Canada Day and the calendar, the vintage in the, did you say vintage in the village? All those items, we've transferred them over to operating.
Software.
Yep, the eScribe software has always been
Software.
and Keystone have all been capital, but they're really,
Yeah, it makes
they're really
that,
operating
should be
expenses.
operating.
So there's probably, it's gonna be between, I'm gonna say $150,000 and $200,000. That has typically been in capital, it's gonna be moved over to the operating.
But in addition, they will not impact tax levy because it's still funded by the reserve. So we just kind of properly recognize that they are capitalized either or operating expense, so it won't affect the tax levy. And moving forward, we'll kind of gradually make this kind of transition smoothly, or kind of will not cause any gap during the tax levy.
So some of the things that are leading to this increase, off the top of our head, we put in a 10%, we've assumed a 10% increase in insurance costs. We don't know yet, we don't normally get a bill until December. So we're just, I mean, we could have put in 5%, we might be right, we might be wrong.
It's been double
Kinda.
digits for at least 5 years, so
Yeah,
5% wasn't very likely. but-
yeah. So that's, and I think that's, I want to say that's probably about a $35,000 or $40,000 increase. 10% is between 35 and 40,000, which is like 1.25%, 1.5% on the tax rate. The OPP budget increased by,
$59,000, so it's
That's
around
a-
2%.
yeah, a good 2% there.
Pause,
The
pause.
wage increase for, just the regular staff and everybody's wage increase is 3.25%, which does not translate directly to a 3.25% tax increase, but it's, I don't know how much it means, but it's around 2. So there's, that's about 6% out of the 10 right there. The law stuff only shows up on water.
Okay.
It doesn't show up
okay.
in the village budget. Water department, I think we're looking at about an 8%.
7.52.
7.52 on water. So,
As a start.
and council will recall, we had at our meeting, April or May of last year, we had that presentation from BM Ross about water rates going forward, and that motion called for to kind of start with a 5% increase.
Mhm.
And work, that motion kind of recognizes that we need to be increasing our rates to get things where they need to be. So if you have any questions if there's any items you want to ask about now, that would be fine. Anytime between now and budget day, feel free to shoot us an email and we'll get you answers to the questions you have.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Jane has put a tremendous amount of work into pulling all these things together, and the next, I think the next step we need to do is sit down as a management group and go through it, make sure, there's a couple of things, one thing that got missed in one of the departments. Somehow it's, these things happen, it's not, that's why we go through
Rather
it.
catch it now.
Yeah. So.
Then we can move on to the review of financial statements. Period ending October 31st, 2025. Were there any questions?
I didn't have any.
Thank you. Can move that the financial statements for the period ending in October 31st, 2025 be received and filed. And if there is nothing else, the next meeting date is set for January 13th, 2026 at 2:30 p.m. We can adjourn.
Thank you.